Live. Perfect. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Sam. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, you bet. So it looks like we have some people jumping in in Zoom already. So welcome. We're just going to be just having a chat here for the next few minutes until we get started. So, but Julian, I know I didn't catch up with you. I mean, where are you broadcasting from today?
I am coming in to you live from the beautiful Hartford, Connecticut, or right outside of Hartford, Connecticut.
Yes. All
I
right. So that's
I'm in New
Howard.
England.
Yeah, Howard is over on that side of the coast.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm in,
Howard, it's in New York, you said, right?
well, in New Jersey, but
In New
yeah.
Jersey. Okay, I
But
know New Jersey well.
I actually used to live up in Ridgefield,
Oh,
Connecticut.
you
Yeah,
did? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, so I have family in Bergen County, and I worked for many years in a company off of Bergen County, but I did a lot of the drive up and down, all of those exits.
yes.
I'm definitely a New Yorker at heart, though. My family is from, my dad grew up in Manhattan, and then I lived in
Oh,
Manhattan for many years as well.
oh, so I grew
Yeah.
up in Stuyvesant Town on
Uh-huh. Yeah.
16th.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Actually, I had, oh my gosh, his name is escaping me. He saved Stuyvesant Town. He's, he is actually the CEO or executive director for Riverside Park.
Okay.
And he was a councilman at the time, and he helped to secure and make sure the Stuyvesant reminded the community that it is now. But
Right.
I'm on the other side. I was in 72nd in Columbus. My dad
Oh,
grew up in Columbus in 86 and
okay.
didn't stray too far. But then I moved to Brooklyn for a year, and that was fun.
What part of Brooklyn, Julie? I used to live in Fort Greene.
Yeah, I lived in Bay Ridge, right by the
Oh,
bridge.
yes.
So
You
I
were
miss
down
my
there.
view from the bridge. My view from the bridge was great. I could see from my window, I could see the bridge and the water. It was lovely. So
Mm.
Okay, City Councilman Dan Garodnick.
Garodnick, yes, thank you. I knew it was
I
Dan,
had
like
to
my
look it up.
husband. Yeah,
I had to look it up. It's there's actually a book, Saving
yeah,
Stuyvesant Town,
yeah.
that
He
he
has a
wrote.
book. And he was one of my, I think it was last summer where I interviewed him, and he's terrific. I love him. And I apologize, Dan, for not remembering your last name, but my husband's name is Dan. And my husband had a birthday this weekend, and I have had nothing but Daniel Collins in the brain.
It's funny.
All right. Well, it was good chatting, but we are at the top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and get kicked off here. So welcome everyone to the People Strategy Forum, where we have a very special guest with us today, which we're going to be talking about building confidence with those simple habits. And so I'm very excited to get into this conversation because with the chaos of life, it's always good to ensure that we have those rituals that we rely on. So I know that Julie's going to take us through a wonderful path here. But before we get started, just a little bit about the People Strategy Forum. We're here as a host of experts to provide a little bit more clarity and for specifically for those companies that are out there that are developing their practices, and we're here to kind of elevate the overall practice and talent and rewards management and so forth. So we have a variety of people on our as hosts. My name is Sam Reeve, and I'm the CEO of CompTeam. We also have Shar Miller, which is Shar has a depth of experience in HR, and she's also a career coach, and she has a variety of her own businesses that she operates, and so she's an expert in managing people and developing those cohesive teams. Sumit Singla is out of India, and Sumit is an expert on people strategies and has a long pedigree of working with some pretty significant consulting companies, and so and he now works with his own company in India and helps out at CompTeam, and so we really appreciate his expertise and his knowledge there. And then, of course, we have Howard Nisewitz. Howard is an expert, a colleague of mine from a long time ago at Barclays, Barclays Bank, and a lot of expertise in systems and development, and he is a comp expert. So a lot of knowledge there, and to automate our busy things in the comp department that and getting off of spreadsheets. And then also we have Wendy Graham. And so Wendy Graham is a TMA practitioner. She's an expert there. Well, a lot of people on the call here are TMA practitioners, such as Shar and Sumit and myself. It's a tool to kind of help get to know your people better and improve communications. But Wendy is also a trainer and an expert in addition to being a trainer, she's an expert in talent management and so forth. So happy to have Wendy on. All right. So starting out with just a quick introduction to our expert contributor today, Julie. Julie is she's written the book, The Confident You, and she's also as she describes herself as an extrovert. And I think that started back when you were talking about, Julie, as far when you entered in the pandemic, you got into podcasting, which is a way to help yourself from not going crazy. And when we're all confined to our own spaces a couple of years ago. So you have that the podcast of Casa de Confidence right now. And then you also advise people on how to be more confident in themselves through a lot of those habits. You're a tiny habits coach, and you're certified, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one thing that I would love to dive into a little bit here, Julie, is just I'd love to understand a little bit more about how you got to do what you're doing today and how you help people.
Well, I have to tell you, first, thank you for having me. This is a really fun conversation. As you said, I'm an extrovert. Anytime that I have the opportunity to talk with other incredible individuals, I am having a good day. I started my career as a teacher, believe it or not, and then soon enough, I learned that I love teaching and I love being able to serve others, but at the same time, I wanted a little more, and I transitioned to working for an educational company, and I grew through the ranks of the educational company. They're based out of New Jersey. They're a national company, and I happened to be very successful in the organization. And as I grew through the ranks, I saw that I had a knack not only for training, and I was being actually groomed to move into the training department. And from that, I realized that I also loved business development and creating relationships. And this company, I'm lucky enough that I have worked for, really invested in their people. And as you were coming into the corporate, into the executive environment, they really cross-trained you in sales, business development, marketing, also operations. So I had a really great background in that, and went to that school of life, working for this company. I was soon recruited for another organization that was looking to take their operations out of New York City into the national level. And because I had the experience in already operating over 150 contracts nationwide for the other organization, it was easy for me to come in and help them transition and build that. And I worked with that company for 12 years. We also had a non-for-profit attached, so I had some great experience in serving on the board and the executive team for the non-for-profit at different levels. And eventually I knew that I wanted to do something for myself, go off on my own in the oh so distant future. And I've been speaking at conferences, educational conferences around the country, and the pandemic happened. I had already had my first certification in cognitive behavioral techniques, but mainly I did that for me. I wanted to improve. I wanted to change, really be able to shift my mindset. And I thought, maybe someday this is going to help me, but also it's going to help me in creating some of the trainings and things that I do now for this organization. Little did I know that when the pandemic hit, when you're an organization working with school districts and the school districts shut down, basically your company is in great peril. So a couple of us in the executive team were offered a separation package. And although it was difficult, it was definitely a mourning period because I've been with the company for so long, and the founder of the company and I, we're great friends. She's a great friend, mentor. I knew that it was the right thing for me to go off on my own. And I knew immediately that I wanted to go in and do my own thing. I didn't know necessarily if it was going to be consulting or coaching, but then I realized that I had a big passion for working with women. And one of the biggest things that I heard throughout my career, anywhere in that corporate ladder climb, was, oh, I wish I was as confident as you. I wish I could do XYZ that you're doing. And I just kept thinking, yes, there is a level of confidence, but I work at it. But I also have really clear habits that I revert back to and I automate, and that help me keep going. And when you don't feel the motivation to do certain things, or life knocks you down, if you have the right level of habits, it becomes an automation that you can continue to move forward. And what I'd like to say is consistent action gets you traction. And that's how I started Go Confidently Services, which primarily is working with individuals who are starting or growing a business and creating the business that is not only going to be successful, but is able to allow them the freedom and the ability to reach what they want their life to be when it comes to running their business. And I leverage all of the skills that I have in the past and bring in the new skills that I have gained as a coach and certifications. And Tiny Habits is something that I wanted to learn for myself to continue to really hone in my skills. And because we've read all the different books on habits, but for one thing or another, it wasn't clicking until Tiny Habits came about. And then all of a sudden, I realized, oh, this makes sense. We change when we feel good. And also we change when we can create an automation that it's so easy and crazy that, you're not relying on motivation to actually do the work. So that's how my journey started. And I've been doing this for, it's going to be 3 years in March. And I'm thrilled. And this is such a wonderful adventure that I am so grateful every day for having the ability to work with amazing individuals and do what I do.
That's so inspiring. So I would love to hear a little bit more about the tiny habits method and how you use that to help people. And so where does that typically start when we're looking to advise people on this?
Well, so to give you a background, and again, there's many books on habits, but Tiny Habits was written by Dr. BJ Fogg, and he is the founder of the behavioral lab at Stanford University. And he is one of the world's leading research when it comes to behavior design. One of the research and things that he has discovered is that we change when we feel good. Number one. Number two is that in order to create a habit, you need to make sure that you are pairing it with an anchor moment. You are creating there it has to be a prompt. As humans, we like to have automation. Our brain doesn't like to work. Our brain likes to automate everything. So in order to design new behavior, you have to find the areas in your life or in your day that you already have automated, and then pair your new desired behavior to that automation. So we create what we call tiny habit recipes. And the way that tiny habit recipes work is when which is your anchor moment, right? Then I will create behavior. And last, you celebrate. And I'm going to touch a little bit on each of these and how I help with this framework my clients. So for instance, for me as an entrepreneur, being healthy and energetic is very important. One of the first things that I know contributes to me having a great mindset and being energized and feeling alert is making sure that I'm taking care of myself physically. That means drinking water. Water is a great thing that we probably don't drink enough of. So one of my automations in drinking water is I try to get 120 ounces of water a day. Now, obviously, that's a daunting number. If I woke up in the morning and said, I'm going to drink 120 ounces of water, the first thought is like, oh, that's a lot. I don't know if I could do it. However, I am not going for my big bottle of water. I am just going for a win. So I find the area, the time in my day in which there's already an automation built in. I have 3 dogs, 3 little tiny pups, the fur squad, and they need to be let out. So in the morning when I let my dogs out, that's my anchor moment. When I let my dogs out, I am so lucky that the sink where I fill up my water bottle is right there. So I fill up my water bottle. That's the desire behavior. And I fill up my water bottle and then I celebrate. And the celebration is the part that is so important because our brain, research says that our brain changes when it feels good. So when I celebrate, and it's not, this big dance and many clients feel very uncomfortable. It's like, I don't know how to celebrate. Just give yourself a thumbs up or just smile and say, oh, good job. You did it, right? Very tiny something, but just acknowledging your win says to your brain, oh my gosh, we got to do this again. I like this feeling. So when I celebrate that my water bottle is full, I'm off to a great start. I am not, and I've already won. Whether or not I drink the entire bottle of water, I have already moved and began the momentum. So of course, once the bottle is full, I take a couple sips or I take some water. And then my other behavior, right? If you're drinking water, you're going to have to go to the restroom. So my anchor moment is when I go to the restroom, after I come out, I drink some water and it just keeps pairing up. So no matter, I am never going for the entire big shebang. I'm going for the tiny little behavior that moves me forward and I am celebrating. And that is really what allows me to create that behavior. And now that framework, when working with clients, I identify specifically where is it that maybe they need some of the better habits to be more productive, to be successful at accomplishing tasks or whatever it might be. And we design tiny habit recipes that allow them to move forward in their business and move forward to accomplish the goals that they want.
So Julie, what are you finding the big issues with women today where they really need help? Oh, and before you answer that, I mean, you're so right with water consumption. And I mean, it's crazy. It's like so simple, but it's one of the areas where people just neglect, often neglect, and they wonder why, why do I feel so tired all the time?
Yeah.
Why am I having a hard time maintaining my weight? I mean, it's just the key to so many things in happiness, as you said.
It is.
But yeah. But let's
Sam,
get
I
into
tell my husband before we move on, every time that he has a headache or an ache and pain, my typical answer to him is, did you drink some water today? It's my logical answer and fix it all.
Right. Well, let's get to the issues that what women are looking for. What are the main issues that women are experiencing today in the context of we've just gotten out of the pandemic. We're moving back into we're being faced with a lot of economic pressures right now and so forth. There's a lot of pressure and stress. So what are women dealing with right now? What are the main things you're helping them with?
Yeah. So, in many of my clients are either starting a business or have a business and they're not making the consistent income from month to month. So one of the things that I help them is really be able to, one, identify if they don't have a business and they have an idea, what is it that they need to do? Is it an idea that is going to fly? Number one. Number two, is their client, people willing to pay for this? And then really create the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roadmap to being able to accomplish. So this means being able to, one, do some of the things that maybe are hard for you because and I'll take someone, for instance, I have a client who, and in the middle of the pandemic, she was a trainer, she worked at a gym, but she said, I want to train people and I don't want people to tell me how to do it and when to do it. I'm very highly qualified. I'm certified in so many different areas. So she decided that she was going to launch a business in her home. And she didn't know anything about, marketing. She didn't know anything about how to price herself. She didn't know anything about the permits or all the things that needed to happen. But what we needed to do is really create a consistent plan of attack for all the things that she needed to accomplish. So I taught her tiny habits on in the morning. When I come to my desk, I'm going to open my calendar. And on the calendar, that was her main tiny habit that she was going for, is opening her calendar. Of course, at the beginning of the week, I also taught her about creating the priorities, the things that moved her forward, not a to-do list that it was endless tasks, but just really aligning. Today, I need to speak to someone in the permitting office for my town. Today, I need to go ahead and follow up with that. Whatever it is, we set up a framework that allowed her to do that. And so for some of my clients is really just building the infrastructure for a business from soup to nuts. For other clients, maybe they already have a business. They're coaches, consultants, maybe their product, they have a product. And really for them, really comes to what I call the oh shiny syndrome, which I think many of us can suffer from. We set out with great intentions for the day and things that, we have to work on again for our business. But somehow at the end of the day, we end up kind of getting sidetracked by email, by the notifications, or something came up and, oh, I'm going to go look into Google and see what that says. I need to work on my marketing, but rather than working on your marketing plan, you're going to go figure out what should I be posting? And then it doesn't really keep you on the task. So a lot of times is really identifying what are the stumbling blocks for my clients. And really, as the educator in me, we create a very individualized plan for them, something very targeted that helps them be able to move their business forward. Of course, I can teach my clients about marketing. I can teach them about sales. We talk about all these different things within their coaching, but really is seeing where the gaps are for them and really being able to prioritize and using the tiny habits method to then prioritize the things that they need to start creating habits for. Sometimes, a productivity hack that I teach my clients is in the morning, if you're going to check email, right? After you check email you open your email and then you scan for all of the important emails rather than trying to look at who's having a sale or what new thing is happening in your inbox. Just you're scanning for, and after you scan all your emails for the most important things, you celebrate. And of course, once you see what's most important, the next framework is you can answer one email only if it's going to take you less than 3 minutes. If not, that's going to move to a priority list that goes into your processing time during the day. And that's a time that we schedule that is already built in your calendar. So you're really using email in a way that it's serving you as opposed to you reacting to somebody else's priorities and needs. So this helps to keep you on track with the things that you should be doing. The other thing too that go ahead.
Oh, no, I just want to ask a question on email, because this is, of course, something that's, haunts me a lot. And I know that it probably haunts a lot of leaders out there. It's just the amount that we get in on a daily basis, and trying to be as responsive as possible to people. So I think this is a big area for a lot of us. Are there certain types of platforms that you see your clients use, or you recommend that are best for email management and getting things done?
So one of the biggest things is that I do is that, our inboxes are really crowded by a lot of different things. I use Google platform for all of my business. And one of the things that you can do in Google is you can actually set up rules, or you can even do it within Outlook, in which emails that you're getting, maybe the invoice from XYZ, or you're getting your notification for this new thing. You can just create folders and have these emails that crowd your inbox with hundreds of emails go directly into these folders. And when you're ready to manage maybe your finances and you need all the invoices, then you go into that folder and you pull them up. The other thing too, as well, is the biggest thing that we don't utilize is I'm going to be controversial here, the unsubscribe button. There's a lot of times that we sign up for things and then we feel bad. And listen, I have an email list, and my most important thing is to grow my email list, because your email list is the lifeline of your business. However, if it's not serving you, if it's not aligned with you at the moment and it's a distraction, unsubscribe. It's okay. You can subscribe again. They won't be mad at you. If anything, they will be happy that you are unsubscribing if you're not the right customer for them. So little tips and tools like that are really key. But the other thing too is And this is where a lot of women lose confidence. And this is where I see a lot of the work and mindset. When you allow yourself to get distracted and you end up not being on task with the things that your ideal calendar should look like, at the end of the day, you beat yourself up because you've sabotaged yourself, you judge yourself, and then it's very difficult to then kind of get moving, because like what we talked about, our brain changes or makes positive traction forward when it feels good. And when you're beating yourself up, when you're sabotaging, when you allow all your different saboteurs, whether it be the people pleaser or whether it be the judge or the high achiever, to kind of tell you you're not achieving as well as you should, you could never measure up, then you're not going to be doing the work forward that you need to.
Right. And you mentioned, celebration and so forth, but I'd like to hear from Shar. I mean, Shar, I mean, I know that you're just juggling so much. It seems like you're so busy. You have all these different business things that are going on, you're coaching and so forth. How do you handle it all?
Delegation. I would say that's the primary word. Yeah, I mean, it does become very overwhelming, managing employees and managing multiple business ventures. I think one of my things every morning I wake up, as I'm trying to get my water and my coffee, more importantly, or less importantly, is, really taking a bite of that gorilla for the day. I mean, think about that one thing, that one gorilla that you need to knock off your priority list first, and then before you
Mhm.
tackle all the other minute tasks and challenges, is really important. But also, I really do go back to working with your team and working with your talent and really capitalizing on the talent of your team. One short example is we have an executive assistant, and rather than sitting on hold with like a phone company for 2.5 hours, and I won't say which one, that's a task that the executive assistant can help you with, and she or he can multitask as they're doing that, instead of the CEO or the chief HR officer sitting on hold for 2-3 hours, and leveraging those resources. So that's one way we've been able to tackle it all. It's very much a people management process, people strategy process. And so also that's why I love doing these forums, because I learn how to leverage those resources. So that's one of the many things. And we became a multi-million-dollar company just by doing those very things. So, but I have to tell you, Julie, I mean, confidence, yes, confidence to get through all of this. Definitely, when you're an entrepreneur, it's very risky, and you have to have the confidence to not only lead your people, but to take those risks and do those challenging activities.
I totally agree with you. And thank you so much for talking about delegation, because this is one of the biggest things that I think is a challenge for many. I don't want to generalize, but in my experience has been women. If I tell a male client, and I work predominantly with women, but I do have some male clients. If I tell a male client, you need to hire a BA, and I tell a female client, the male client will hire them right away and start to delegate, where a female will like, well, I don't know, what if they don't do it? So part of the process of empowering them to be able to delegate, when they start to create processes for their business, one of the first things that we do is we actually create those SOPs for themselves. And people think, oh, but I'm just an entrepreneur, I'm just a solopreneur, why would I need these standard operating procedures? Well, because when you're ready to delegate, because there's only certain things that you can do as a CEO of your business, right? And if you can start to then say, oh, I created a process for that, now I can turn this over to my person, then it allows you to do those activities that only you as a CEO can do. And that's really key. Writing an email or sending an email out or checking your inbox or calendaring things is great, but that's not a high value task as it is maybe networking or speaking to a potential client or pitching an organization that you can bring value to.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's very powerful what you just mentioned as far as really looking at what you're doing, documenting what you're doing from day to day. And I take this a little step further, is I like to document the things that I don't like to do.
Yeah.
And so that's if I document the things I don't like to do, then I can pass those off to somebody that does like doing that activity, and because they like doing it, they'll probably do it better than I do.
100%.
Yeah.
I am lucky enough. Part of Go Confidently services includes having a podcast, and I love talking on the podcast. But if it was up to me to edit and do any other technical stuff, we wouldn't have a podcast. And do what you do best, delegate the rest. I have a wonderful producer, my husband, who does all of the work, and he loves it. He did sound in college. That's not what he does for a living, but he gets to do something that he's really passionate and good at, and it's a gift.
Well,
The other
Julie, I
piece-
think you have the best podcast voice I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind, Char.
It's so calm. Calming.
Thank you.
Very nice. And so the other thing, I know that Howard's a big fan of this too. I mean, is as we are moving forward, and especially now, there's been so much new software that's coming out, and one of the things that we constantly have to challenge ourselves is that, what are the areas that can be automated or maybe done better with software pieces. And so, Howard, you come into that a lot, right?
Yeah, I'm always looking at, how can I do things better and smarter and more efficiently? Sometimes we just get so used to, oh, I've always done it this way, that we seem reluctant or even scared to try and do things a little bit differently. But I think you gotta just open your mind and look at the possibilities and say, well, maybe the way I'm doing it is not the best.
So it's Howard, I have to tell you that there's so many entrepreneurs that are so reluctant to utilizing new technology, but really technology is a lifesaver, time saver, and really is one of the biggest tools that you can have. If you don't have the human capital, technology is also one of the best tools that you can have in your corner.
Yeah, a lot of those great things that are out there. I mean, I know one of the things I suffer from, and thank God I have Sumit here, because Sumit is such a wonderful writer. I'm terrible at writing and getting these things, and when I get it down on paper, it's often kind of it needs editing and a good spell checker. So I think those are pieces that are just a way that we need to leverage and embrace technology overall, so it can help us. So what other things are you seeing, Julie, as far as issues that women need to be thinking about, and the leadership role? Because right now, I mean, often communication and communicating effectively and showing yourself in a great way with your people and your clients and so forth is a big issue. So what are you seeing there as far as women's issues in that area?
So a lot of women are always going to come with a story, and this is where I leverage some of my other training, cognitive behavioral techniques. The story that typical women say to themselves is, I am not a very good salesperson. And right off the bat, I know that a lot of women are going to be reluctant to enter into a conversation with someone because they're viewing themselves as that picture in their mind of what a salesperson is like, pushy, and maybe, we're going back to the stereotype of the used car salesperson. But one of the things that I'd like to have them do is really be able to rewrite some of those beliefs, because number one, sales is about relationships. Sales, you're never going to enter into at least in my experience, if someone needs something you offer, they are going to pay for something you are offering. And if you have something of value, so it's about one, creating the relationship, nurturing the relationship, understanding and really getting into the framework in which what your people need and want from you, and then creating that value, and then just saying, hey, you're struggling. For instance, my client Amanda, she didn't have a hard time enrolling people. Wow, you have pandemic weight. Wow, you've been sedentary. That's terrible. Oh, and you don't want to go back to a big gym where there's, wow, I have a great answer for you. I am a certified trainer that can teach you in a very individualized way how to be able to start to feel stronger and how to leverage it could be at your own time and it's not too far from you, right? There's a solution. So she's not selling and going for the hard sale on something that people already need and value. And really helping women get past that thought sometimes allows them to then be able to just, as they go about with speaking, networking, talking to people about what they do, and then really testing whether or not there is a market for what they're doing is also very important, because I have women that start off like, I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do. Yet nobody really is looking for that, right? So the more that you're out there and the more that you are finding out what the market requires, and then really being intentional about creating your offers, then you can easily say to someone, yes, I do that. I can help you with that. And you're doing it out of that relationship. You're not assuming that, you're pushing someone to do something that they don't need or want. So that's something that's very key. And I think that for many of us, we need to really be able to build our confidence by seeing the results of what we're doing. Again, we're feeling good, like, oh, I just told someone that I can help them with XYZ. That's what they need. I know I can help them. And then they say yes, you're going to feel good about doing it again. And when someone says, oh, sorry, it's not for me, you don't feel like, oh, what did I do wrong? No, it's okay. Well, somebody else needs me. Great. This person has allowed me to then have the scope to have time for somebody else, right? And that's a little bit of how people are building their confidence. And my clients really work through those issues and challenges.
So yeah, as far as the confidence piece is huge, and I think that a lot of that, I mean, I've been trying to work on that just through practice and practice and practice, doing the same things over and over again, trying to get better and so forth. But what are some of the steps that you highlight in your book as far as where people should be addressing first, and how they should think about building their confidence in a method, in a tiny habit way, I guess you could say?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I wanted to share with the individuals reading my book, I wanted to share the things that have worked with me, the habits, the simple habits that I've created in my life to help me achieve a new level of success. And I apologize in advance, but I have to cough. Excuse me, tickle in my throat. Let me just water.
Water is so important, right?
Yeah, thank you. I was so fortunate that I had some incredible individuals be a part of my life, be part of the people that poured into me. And excuse me, I wanted to share the stories of those individuals and what are the examples that I saw in their lives. What are the things that they did for themselves to reach a level of success? What are the things that they taught me? And then how I've made them my own. So the book is set up with 10 different chapters, and you can read them in order, or you can go and choose the one that makes the most sense for you. And at the end of the chapter, I've actually, because again, the teacher in me is I do, we do, and then you do. I want you to actually explore what does that mean for you, and then be able to write and create that little plan for yourself. And the biggest thing when it comes to confidence, and Sam, you were talking about this, the more you're doing something, you're building confidence. I want to give the analogy of learning to swim. I didn't learn to swim till I was 14. But I really liked water, and I happened to, jump many times when I was little into the deep end of the pool, and I had to be rescued right away. So of course, when it came to actually, I think there's a delivery man at my door. Excuse me.
No, that's no problem. I know that happens to me all the time. Then somebody comes in and then they go crazy. And then I have
apologize.
to go.
This is live, right? So I'm sorry to the audience, but I appreciate your grace.
Yeah.
When it comes to, again, learning to swim, I would jump to the deep end of the pool and I couldn't do it. And I didn't feel very confident when it came to racing. But what I started to do is I started small again, like we talked in Tiny Habits. So the first thing that you do when you're learning to swim, the first thing is I started to blow bubbles. And okay, I could do that. I can breathe underwater. And then I started to kind of do the little doggy paddle. When I started to do the doggy paddle, I could kind of breathe and do the doggy paddle. Once I started to maybe learn to stroke and do my little movement, I could move to the deeper end of the pool. And again, the more that you are creating the record of effectiveness for yourself, the evidence that you can do it, the better you are going to be at being able to build your confidence that you can go to the deep end of the pool. And I think that with anything, if you're starting out, maybe you have a new role in your organization, and this is not something that 100% you have the confidence that you can do this job, then what I want you to do is to practice and to remember that even if you fail at something in the process of doing this, failure is your first step in learning. And without that first step, we're not going to know how to do it better or increase maybe or change or course correct is something that we need. And I look at women even in corporate America, and I saw this so many times. We used to advertise for different positions. 9 times out of 10, I would have someone in my organization, and maybe was a female, highly qualified. I thought that would be the right fit for this brand new position, this new role, and they wouldn't apply for the role because they would say, "Well, Julie, I don't think I can do this." Even if they met 80 to 90% of that role, right? Whereas I would get people who apply to the role who I would never even think of like having them in that short list because they weren't quite a fit. But many males tend to feel a little more confident, like, I can learn that. And there's nothing wrong, right? Because when we're putting out a role or a new job posting, it's a wish list of everything that role is going to have. But we understand that there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be an ability for people to really acclimate and make the role their own and move forward. But really be willing to step into something new, knowing that you're not going to be 100% good at it.
Yeah.
Very rarely does that happen. Natural ability is great, but the majority of us takes practice. It takes that consistent showing up in allowing ourselves to just give ourselves the next best time, the next best moment to work at it.
I love that. That's the piece is that we need to continually push our boundaries, work up against those and push our boundaries out, because what I like to think about is that the further we push our boundaries out, the more comfortable we are at our core. And, because we become much more adept in that. But Sumit, I mean, as far as thinking about, developing confidence and so forth, what do you see in your culture and the cultures that you work with, as far as ways that people are struggling and help build their confidence up?
That's an interesting question, Sam. I think one element to confidence is, I think we lay too much emphasis on speaking the English language in what we consider is the right way. So you'll see a lot of people who have confidence issues because they believe their communication isn't quite up to the mark. And coaches and managers, they're trying to change this view, saying, if you're understandable, it's perfectly fine, because you don't necessarily need an American accent or a British accent or any other accent. As long as the other person can understand you, that's perfectly okay. And you need to just have the right ideas and be able to convey them. That's about it. That's one. Second, I think creating information in public. So whether it's in the written medium or whether it's just speaking up in meetings, more often is something that people shy away from. I mean, if you consider the written medium, like say LinkedIn, there are estimates that say only about 1% of the people are actually writing or creating, and the others are sitting there thinking, what if I look like an idiot if I post something, and what if people laugh at me? Similarly, even in meetings, I think a lot of people second guess themselves and wonder if they ask a stupid question or if they ask an offensive question. So that's the other thing about offense, specifically in Asian cultures and in Indian culture. A manager is seen as, or a leader is seen as somebody who's somehow above you on some kind of a pedestal. So asking them an uncomfortable question or asking them a question can be very intimidating to people, and you would need a lot of confidence to maybe question their authority, or I mean, be okay with being seen as questioning authority. I think those are some of the confidence things that we struggle with.
Yeah, one thing that I thought that was really important that you mentioned there, Sumit, is that so just a quick story. I was talking to a gentleman from Saudi Arabia this morning, and his English was pretty rough, and I'm sure that he probably thought I was speaking a little fast. But the important thing that that I was trying to understand during that part in our dialogue together is that we're trying to come about a shared goal. And I think having that realization is important. I'm trying to explain to him a particular concept, and he's trying to listen to learn more about that concept. And so in partnering together with him, we made it through the call, and it was quite successful. But I think that's a part of the thing that we need to think about in anything that we do. If we're venturing out and maybe it's public speaking or whatever. I mean, there's a person that is speaking and a person that is listening, and we're there for a shared goal, and understanding that, I think is key to kind of working through that difficulty of being uncomfortable, being lacking that confidence.
Absolutely.
So, and Julie, in your experience with, I just mentioned public speaking because I think that's a huge thing. When how can we get more confident here in these areas? I mean, is this a topic that often comes up with you?
Yeah, I actually, we just, as a production of Casa de Confidence Productions, we've just expanded to global network radio, and we have several women who are joining our network because one, they have a wonderful message and they want to put it out there, but obviously it's intimidating to be able to put yourself out there, mainly because, as we know, our biggest need, right? When we revisiting Maslow's hierarchy of needs is to belong. And sometimes by putting ourselves out there, we are risking that we don't belong, that we're not going to be accepted. But I can tell you that one of the things that I encourage them to do is that not everyone is going to be your right listener, but someone out there needs the message that you have. And that if you are really clear on who you are, and we go back to personal brand. This is something that, again, I really am big on when it comes to working with individuals. Be very clear on what your brand is. Be very clear on what you stand for, what you offer, what your strengths, and whether you have business or you're in corporate America. It's important to know what your personal brand is. Once you do that, and you are in your brand has to have your values included in there. When it comes to speaking, and you know what you do, what you offer, who you are, who do you offer it to, and you're clear with your values, being able to get in a forum like this to talk about what you do, who you do it for, what your message is, it's going to come a little easier as if you're speaking about something that I don't know. If I were to get in here and talk about, I don't know how to rotate or change your brakes, I have no idea. I could probably tell you that you're going to have to take the wheels off your car. And I don't even know where the rotors go or what that means, or if there's brake fluid and where will that go. I could probably make it up. That's just the extrovert 7 Enneagram in me, or the DI in the disc, whatever you want to talk. However, ask me about habits. Talk to me about things that are really familiar and really align with what's important to me. One of my biggest values for my organization and me as a person is service. That's first and foremost when it comes to my values, and something that anybody who is working with me, I am going to serve you. I am going to support you. Leadership, growth. That's also part of my value system. So when it comes to speaking on these topics, it's going to come easy. And that's what I encourage. If you are looking to create a platform, if you are looking to put yourself out there, and, speaking at a meeting, it's intimidating, especially if you haven't done it a lot. And this goes back to practicing. It goes back to doing it for the first time. Be okay with, if you have a question, or if someone is discussing something and wow, that's not going to work, I know for sure, then really be okay with raising your hand, because then you will be seen as the person who, one, is courageous enough to say something, and two, may have the solution that the group is looking for. So start small, start tiny. Maybe you just say, well, I have a question, or I have a thought, and really being able to start small, and you will be able to, and that's the beauty of tiny habits. Tiny habits are like plants. They grow the more that you use them. And if planted in the right place, they can really, really expand.
Great. Thanks, Julie. So as we getting to the top or the end of our call here, I would love to hear more about the services, how you work with people and the services that you
Sure.
provide, and how they can engage with you. But before we go there, just want to make sure that we are acknowledging our next speaker here, Joshua Wool, he's the CEO of Mindstone. And he's going to be talking to us about how founders can learn faster and remember more and get things done. And so he has a special platform that is out of the UK, and that I think is going to be revolutionary in that field of learning and developing on a personal basis. And so he's going to take us through that journey on the next week's People Strategy Forum. All right, so Julie, I'd love to hear a little bit more about how, and a lot of people out there have questions and they want to know more about the tiny habits process, and leverage your experience in those cognitive behavioral approach that you have. So how can people get a hold of you and learn more?
Sure. So you can find everything you need on my website. That's goconfidentlycoaching.com. If you want to maybe learn a little bit about tiny habits, the Tiny Habits Academy runs a 5-day free challenge, and we can teach you tiny habits in 5 minutes a day for a week. So it's not a big investment, but it's a big payoff. So if you're interested in doing that, you can go to goconfidentlycoaching.com/quick links. And there is a sign up for that. And on those quick links, you can also see some of the different ways in which you might be able to connect with me. Typically, what I would do is I have a conversations with you to see and to clarify whether or not I'm the right fit. Maybe I do have clients that are not specifically entrepreneurs, that are maybe looking to leverage their career as well. And we work through using tiny habits and also the mindset to be able to move to the next level. I am working toward my ICF certification in positive intelligence coaching as well. Again, because I don't do anything that I am not my best client for. And that has been really amazing to really be able to understand what are the different things that sabotage us, and how we can overcome the sabotaging thoughts and behaviors that we have to create more expansion and be able to have that capacity to be more productive, to be more in tune with everything that is going on in life, whether it be for our personal or our business or career.
Yes, I've taken that positive intelligence
Yeah.
training before. That was a lot of fun,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm doing the whole year training now, so it's super exciting and insightful, and yeah, excellent. I highly recommend it.
Perfect. All right. Well, it's been wonderful talking to you, Julie. I mean, thank you for sharing all this great knowledge that we have here about being better and becoming more confident. Also, one thing, where can people find your book?
Yeah, well, it's on Amazon, and you can just go it's Confident You or confidentyoubook.com. You can also find it there as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today.
It is such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. And thank you again for letting my dogs also have a part of the show. They really enjoy being part of the pack here. So it's been fun.
Yes, our animals need voices too, right? So,
That's right. That's right. And they're noisy ones at best.
all right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Go confidently
And
Thank
hydrate.
you.
And hydrate.
and hydrate.